Where is everyone? This is so weird. Wait, what's that over there?
The Paranormal Smorgasbord? Welcome, you're just in time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Gathering Paracast right here on the Cryptovania Network. My name is Stephanie.
And my name is Heidi.
And I'm Trost.
Hey, everybody. Welcome.
Yeah. Another
Paranormal
fabulous another fabulous intro by Jason, by our fabulous producer.
Thank you. It's starting to feel like summertime here in Northwest PA. The kids are getting ready to all graduate, including my littlest, and he graduates tomorrow. It's along with people getting out of school and stuff, that our weather has suddenly turned here, and suddenly it's starting to feel like summer has come to. So we have early summer smorgasbord for us here.
Summer has come to the land of 10,000 lakes too. So
yeah,
it's pretty hot out. Yeah, it has been for a while. So
we still have cool nights. It's still getting in the low 40s at night for us. But we're getting into 70s and 80s in the daytime. So it's been rather pleasant for about 2 weeks now. This is about the second really pleasant week. We're feeling good. Despite my own little, faux pas and stuff.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. It's that whole getting into the new season, and it goes up and down and up.
Yeah.
We never know. I mean, I swear one day I had the heat on in the morning and the air conditioning on in the afternoon. So, I mean, it's crazy. But anyway.
Just like one of my favorite things to do in the car is to have the window open and have the floor heat on. But it's just chilly enough, so you got that. To me, that's like perfect weather there. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, here we are. I feel like we just did a paranormal smorgasbord. So here we are again.
Yeah, it does feel like we just had one last week, but it's been a month.
Yes. Yep.
It's been a month, and this is the first one in June. So a lot of things are changing right now. So fun, and talk about graduations. Yes. So my 2 nephews graduated this week. Fun stuff. It's just, I feel really old because really they're like my grand nephews, right? So they're my nieces. They're 2 children, so wow, I am old. But I'm the baby of the family. So there you go. So my sister is, 15 years older than me. So my nieces are very close to my age. But yeah, so fun to see that. And we have graduation party on Saturday, and it's just busy time, Jason. So are you guys having a big party for your son?
Yes, we will be late in the last weekend of June. But that's that. My littlest is now graduating high school, and so that's kind of something. You get like all kinds of weird emotions that come with that.
Yes, Absolutely.
And it's even it even feels like as all the young kids get out, it seems, even if you don't have school age children, it seems like it fills the season. Like suddenly it's summer.
That's absolutely right. All the younglings are graduating, and they're no longer younglings anymore, right? Oh my gosh.
And they're set free for a couple months.
Yes. And one of the things I told Everett, and it was so funny because I said, we were talking about it, and I said, Ev, just think. And he's been accepted to the Carlson School of Business at the U of M, which is a very prestigious thing. But I said to him, Ev, just think, you're graduating from high school, so you never have to go to school again. And his eyes got really big, and he looked at me and he said, oh my God, I never would have thought of that. And Casey was listening, and she said, you better hope he goes, because Jesse is going to kill you if that kid doesn't go. It's just
Steffi said I don't have to go to school no more.
Right. Yeah, oh gosh, that was funny. But yeah, his eyes, you never thought about that before. It was just like, like, well, I thought of it right away when I graduated from high school. Oh, I never have to do this again. And then I proceeded to go back, but it's just kind of a fun thought.
Yeah. I got kind of cast off into the winds, and
Yeah,
but,
I know.
Yeah. It feels so long ago, you know, and
Oh,
you know,
well,
yes.
it was a long time ago for me, for sure. You know.
Hmm.
Anyway,
Well, let's get to it. Let's get to the smorgasbord.
yeah.
You
So
guys
who
have
wants to go
both been
first?
awful busy.
Yeah, I'm trying to be less busy, but somehow that doesn't work. But I have put in parts of my calendar where I can do other things too, like garden and whatever. And I got to say, okay, so this is kind of paranormal, but because we talk about earth elements and stuff, but I gardened in my bare feet the other day and it was the coolest thing ever. I got to say, I felt so good when I was done with that because, all those Mama Earth's energies get up into you and you just get rounded and you feel fabulous. And I even posted a picture of my filthy
I saw
toes.
that.
And I said pedicure by Mama Earth. And the comments were really funny, like the best. So it is true. Walk around with bare feet and you will feel fabulous. So that's my thing. But yeah, I still have a lot to do. So,
Uh-huh.
but we have all summer, right? We have all summer. So
Hmm.
So, paranormal. So, that was a little metaphysical. And I guess my topic for this week is also kind of in that same realm. I'm the tree girl. You all know this. The trees are
Hmm.
my deal. I've been told by a few that I have crazy fae energy, that I probably came from the fae, right? Fairies and all that, which is why I love the sea, which is why I love the woods, the whole 9 yards. And there are several trees that I go to when I need comfort. My two big maples out here are two, but I have Mama Oak in the big park and Papa Oak, and then I have these two cottonwood trees in a park nearby that I go see often. And I've often said all the trees have a different feel, right? From species to species.
Hmm.
Oaks are very sturdy and strong, and their strength, like Mama Oak's strength, is amazing. That girl has to be over 100 years old, right?
Hmm.
Maples also, they're very fast growing and they have just kind of a wild energy to them.
Yeah,
Cottonwood trees are just such a lovey tree, right? I mean, everything about them is lovey. They have heart-shaped leaves. They have
the do.
they're just beautiful in heart. And a few years ago, I noticed that on Mama Cottonwoods, she's a giant cottonwood tree too. And on one of her roots, there was a heart shape. And I'm like, oh, isn't that interesting? And I put my barefoot in it because that's what I do. And the energy coming, it just felt like it was crazy energy. It was like, I'm like, oh, this is kind of like a portal. And so I dug into it a little bit. This was like a decade ago.
Hmm.
And sure enough, people did say, oh, yes, this is a portal. This is a portal to whatever, an energy portal. It's so cool. So I thought this is a good thing to talk about tonight. And so I did some more digging. And sure enough, cottonwood trees have this unbelievable, they're thought of as sacred and loving and they like reach for the stars. I guess if you cut a branch off or you snap a branch off, it's like shaped like a star. I never knew that. I've never seen it because why would I do that? But so they reach for the stars.
Uh-huh.
They are just, and they have these portals. But yeah, so I jotted a few things down. The Native Americans consider them to be a sacred entity. They're a symbol of love, strength, and endurance, healing, transformation, hope. I mean, the list goes on and on. It's quite amazing. Um, they seem to be a bridge between the physical and the spiritual world.
Hmm.
It talks about how these portals connect the living to the ancestors and right to the Great Spirit. Actually, they say that you can send prayers to the Great Spirit, that you can go directly down into Mama Earth from there and then out into the universe, right? I mean, crazy things, but I believe in all of them, and here eagles, which are fabulous. They're another one of my favorite. They're another one of my spirit animals. Almost always nest in these big cottonwood trees. And why do you think that is? Well, strength, right? These trees are strong enough to hold their thousands and thousands of pound nests, but
Uh-huh.
they're also just so sacred and they're so full of love and energy. And they know eagles are smart, right? I
Mhm,
often
mhm.
say we should watch the eagles and see what they do and, follow their path. But yeah, I mean, they're just amazing. So if you're ever out there, they're also called the guardian of the forest, which I thought was pretty cool. But yeah, they are something to behold. And I know what got me thinking about it is right now all the cottonwoods are, sending out their beautiful seeds. So it's like snow almost up here in many different places because there's cotton flying everywhere,
Mhm.
It's beautiful, magnificent. And so I thought, oh my gosh, this is just the right time to talk about this. But yeah, so next time you see a cottonwood, go put your hand on her.
Mhm.
They have a story to tell, and they are just have beautiful, loving energy. And look for that heart in the roots, and put your little foot in there and see what you feel. They're quite amazing.
Uh-huh. That's interesting. They're also kind of fast growing too, aren't they?
They are.
Cottonwoods.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
Interesting. Interesting.
So I
Um,
sent you that video. So in the
yes.
video is the portal, and there she is. That's quite a big heart, actually.
Yeah.
And then there's my feet in there. So it's pretty big because it fits both my
Yeah.
feet, you know? That's the Mama Cottonwood. And she is magnificent, of course. This is that's me with my hand on her. And that is another portal from I call him Papa Cottonwood. He's across the way at his roots, and there he is. But so those two, I always say those two are connected, just like Mama and Papa Oak are connected up here,
Uh-huh.
So it's fun, right? So
I
And
think I told you a while back we did an investigation out at a park,
yeah.
and we ended up having a conversation with what I
Mhm,
believe was a cottonwood through
mhm.
a piece of equipment that we laid across the roots
Yep.
of
The
the
roots
tree.
are the roots are where it's at. Let me tell you.
like
Yeah.
you were picking up signal from the roots?
Yeah, because we went over that. It was a huge cottonwood,
Mhm.
and I saw it, and I went, I've got to go over there, and so I went over and I put my hands on it, and you could tell it was so like grateful to be
Oh yeah.
acknowledged, just to be
Oh yes.
recognized. You could just feel the energy. And so then everybody that I was with went over and we took turns, and it was huge. It was, you couldn't put your arms around it. You would take
Mhm.
5 people to put your
Oh
arms around it.
yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah.
And it was, you could just tell it was so happy that we were looking at
Mhm.
it. Like nobody looks
Mhm.
at it. It's
Nobody
just a
does.
Uh-huh.
tree, to everybody.
Yep.
So we laid tripwire, that's used for investigation. It has 10 different K2 meters in one wire, and they're all individual of each other.
Mhm.
So they can all light up independently of each other based on electromagnetic field strength. And so we laid it across its roots and said, if this is the tree talking to us, if you want to talk to us, you can light these up. And it started, it
Yeah.
starts at a purple, which is very low EMF, and it goes up basically the rainbow to red, which is the strongest. And it
Mhm.
lit one up red. And by the end of our conversation, all 10 were lit up bright red.
Really?
And it was the coolest thing. Yeah. And it was just like so happy to
Amazing.
talk with
Yes.
us and have
You
a way to
know,
communicate with us that we could understand.
well, and I think all trees are that way. If you pay
Mhm.
attention to a
Yeah.
tree, and I've always said that, I always have to,
Yeah.
Heidi, you know me. We've been out in the woods so many times looking for squatch, and I'm always running over there. Oh, I got to touch this tree. And I do. And they are, they tell you, they're excited to see you, and my trees out here even, they all are the
Mhm.
same way. And Mama Oak and Papa Oak, and yeah, I always Dewey just goes trotting up there too, and we go talk to them all the time, And especially if I'm really stressed out, Mama Oak is the one I go to because she is just like I said, oak trees are just so strong. They just have such strength, and they're just
Mhm.
like, oh, I'll help
Yeah.
you with this. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Where Mama Cottonwood is just so much more loving. She's just, well, and mom, the oak is too. Mama Oak is too, but those cottonwoods are they're just loving creatures. So anyway, trees all have tree spirits.
Uh-huh.
So think about that too. No,
Cons- Considering my sawmill days, I might be in trouble.
you might be
Oh,
in trouble. Yes, for
I think you're
sure.
okay.
For sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, Interesting. So that's fascinating that you were able to get a signal, an electric, response,
Mhm.
across the roots like that. That is wild. That is
Yep.
wild.
There was no
Um,
electricity there. There's no underground wiring, things like that. We used
uh-huh.
other devices to make sure that it wasn't something that was triggering our our tripwire. We used a lot of pieces of equipment around it and nothing else was lighting up
Mhm.
that would be affected. It would all be affected the same way with EMF and it would
Yeah,
nothing.
I
So
never
it
would have
was
thought
just
to
what
do
was
that,
touching the
but
roots.
that's awesome. That is
I
really
might have I
awesome.
might I might have to do that up there with Mama Cottonwood one of these days and Papa. But
Yeah,
but
yeah.
then
That.
there's me and I know they're there, so why I don't
Mhm.
need that.
Mhm.
They talk to me already. I don't need them. I don't need that to talk to
Oh,
them.
I know.
So
We weren't planning on talking to the tree. We went to talk to other beings that were there, and then we ended up talking to the tree because it was like, "Well, hey, you wanna talk to us?
here I
Let's do
am.
that instead."
Yeah. Yeah.
So, it was
Very
a
cool.
cool investigation.
Very
That is
cool.
cool. And so that was actually kind of like a side shoot of the
Yeah.
bigger investigation.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Did you guys get anything else that night or that on that investigation? Was that
Um,
successful?
yeah, I can't even remember. It was a couple years ago.
Uh-huh.
I think we got some other stuff too, but not anything that was as strong and made as much sense as talking to the cottonwood.
Uh-huh.
It just
Interesting.
made sense. It lined up with what we were doing, and we would ask it to do something, like, "Hey, can you light this one up next?" And it would. So there was intelligence there. It was just cool.
That's interesting. That is super, super cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
So
Mm.
I had a couple of weeks ago, I had a buddy message me and a guy from that's in our Cryptovania group, and he said to me, he said, "Are you at all familiar of the GATE program, and the shared experiences, especially like lucid dreaming and stuff that a lot of people associated with the GATE program, uh, and honestly, it struck it struck some bells. I remember as a kid, I had remember testing for the GATE program, which was gifted and talented education or something like that. And I remember like not I came up short. And I remember as a kid being kind of disappointed, maybe even a little chip on his shoulder for a little bit afterwards. And I started doing a little bit of research into it. And I actually joined some of the Facebook groups for it. And what you kind of have, what I would give a synopsis of it is it's there's a GATE program that was that started in the 70s that was for identifying gifted and talented kids in elementary and challenging them with more stuff, with a little bit of a different education. They would usually pull you out a few times a week. You would get pulled out of class and go do something extra and such. And then at the same time, probably more like in the 80s, there was a program called the Gateway Program, which was for adults specifically, and typically younger adults, late teens, early 20s. And they used a lot of like audio frequencies and stuff to do conscious altering things and lucid dreams, and such as that. And so you kind of have like a blending, and it's I'm not sure if it's a blending of two different phenomenon from that time period that kind of get blended together in our conversation, or if one kind of bled to the other. Like a lot of people theorize that the original GATE program that was in the elementary was for helping certain programs identify kids with gifts, that maybe wasn't just IQ related, but things that you can accomplish, and then you have the Gateway program, which was developed by, I think Robert Monroe was his name. And now one of the odd things about and a lot of the people report they did like lucid dreaming and out of body experiences and stuff, and using harmonic, frequencies. And a lot of them report as adults, like there's a shared dreamscape that many have. It's kind of described as like a very empty mall or an empty school that stretches out like an infinite length of time. You can keep walking the hallways and they never seem to change, and you never seem to go anywhere. And it's like a mallscape, like several levels, and the people don't really panic because they almost feel like they're a part of something, and that's kind of part of the shared experience too. And it's really interesting how many people identify with this. And I think that it was even the gateway stuff was even mentioned a little in the Epstein files, including, and then on that same vein, there was talk in the Epstein files of 23andMe being a way for somebody to identify they were looking for something, like a bloodline or a skill set, or like a lot of people, the RH factor, negative and positive on the bloodlines and stuff. That gets interwoven into that whole fabric of the gate and the gateway and the 23andMe. Like there's large, powerful groups that are looking for something. Maybe it's a skill set for for future CIA officers or something, or, but there's, and it gets hinted at a lot in Hollywood, like men who stare at goats and stuff like that, and I really find fascinating though, that shared experience of that mallscape that's empty and that you just, continually, wander through, and so that's been kind of the rabbit hole I've been going down when I've been afforded the chance, and I'm really grateful to my friend to have reached out and share some of those experiences and kind of direct me down that little path. And then as I've watched some of the news things, it seems like there's like little bits and pieces that continue, like, oh, I remember he said something about that. So yeah, the GATE program and the Gateway program are two different programs. One was at kids, one was adults, and it's at least theorized that they were interconnected and kind of part of that whole thing. So yeah, kind of interesting, and I remember, and I remember testing for it, and for getting into the GATE program as a young guy, and and they were like, not quite for you. I'm like, yeah. Well, dang, I thought I was a lot brighter than that, but yeah. And it was funny because that was kind of it was a little bit of a knockdown in the ego, I thought I was Mr. Bright Guy. I'm going to go test for that. Nope. And then I've watched, my kids, and they're like, yeah, we got into that. Well, it must be your mom.
No.
Yeah.
Maybe you just got all worked up when you took the test.
Maybe I tested bad. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
Some people do test really bad, I don't know. Don't feel bad. But it's interesting, right? Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
The mallscape thing is kind of creepy and weird, right?
Yeah. And there's like,
weird.
and like a almost familiar to them. Like there's not a sense of panic, like, oh my God, why am I? But like almost like they kind of know where they're at, but not quite. And like not a sense of panic either. And very, very common. And then again, it's suggested that, once it's been suggested, oh yeah, I kind of remembered that, and so you've got to kind of, just like all the other paranormal things, you have to, sift through that, some of the experiences might not be quite genuine, where, mixed in with ones that are genuine, and how do you sort through? But it's a really cool thing. Yeah.
Interesting. You know, it's getting me thinking because I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm going, gosh, some of this stuff sounds familiar. And I'm gonna have to do some research because I don't think it was a gate program. Like that it doesn't sound familiar, but I wouldn't know anyway. But I was in like these things where they pull you out of class and work on these weird little like projects, like kids from different classes and stuff and weird little and reading assignments and figuring out like, and it was weird. I'm gonna have to do some research on that and see what that was.
Yeah. You might find some really like interesting, and also it kind of ties into like there's a lot of talk over the last couple of months about a lot of missing and dead scientists, especially around rocket propulsion and anti-gravity type studies. And one of them that is included in that group was a young lady named Amy Askeren, and she was into anti-gravity propulsion type thing. And she talks about how in some of the videos that she made before she passed, she talks about how they control those folks and talks about how they'll give them an impossible task and they'll solve it. And then they immediately take it away from them and give them another impossible task. And it's like a serotonin, like a addiction you get from solving this impossible puzzle. And then it's quickly taken away from you. And so it's all a very interesting and sometimes kind of dark rabbit hole there about those kind of things. And again, like that, nobody can ever put their finger on who's looking for what. It's somebody's looking for some kind of skill set or searching for a bloodline and stuff, and it leaves lots of room for interpretation.
That's crazy. I'm gonna have to look that stuff up.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking back to some of the stuff like that they had us read and do. I'm like, what? Because I thought at the time, like, this is not appropriate. Like, it's not it wasn't appropriate. It was disturbing for someone in like 5th grade to be reading some of the stuff they had us reading. It was like, because it was really dystopian and scary and weird and like outside of the normal things that I guess they would have us read, because we were pulled out of class to read some of the stuff and do these like what if situations and what. So that's interesting. I'm gonna have to look it up because you don't think of it because you're just doing it, and then you hear about stuff like this later and you go, what? That's
and there's also a thing about childhood experiences where we normalize things that we've experienced. And because they happened to me, you don't recognize maybe that was an abnormal experience because you don't know what you don't know,
right.
And so that, and that's kind of a common thread too. Like, why were they having us do these odd things? And it does seem to be kind of an interesting thing. Check it out.
Hey, I didn't have any of those experiences, but you know what? I am not one to hold it to myself. So if that would have happened to me, I would have went right home to Betty May, and she would have been up at that school in no time and saying, "What are you doing to our kids?" You know what I mean? So
yeah.
No. And they probably saw that in the Langer kids. Oh, don't do it to them because Betty May will be down here in no time.
That's interesting. Yeah, it's a really interesting little rabbit hole there. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. Oh my goodness. Well, that's cool. Very cool. Our wide array of subjects on the Paranormal Smorgasbord is always fun and exciting, right?
Well, I have something really wild too, so I wanted to share this. So I'm going to tell so this happened this weekend. And so I see Cindy's in the chat room. So she was there when this happened. I think it even happened to her. I don't know. So I'm going to share this. And so I had my women's circle this weekend where we do these different focuses each time we get together. And we were doing an exercise where we had to partner up with the group. And so I wasn't in it because there was enough with Cindy. There was an equal amount of people. So everybody partnered up and we did this exercise where we're moving through the chakras and you're working with your partner to like draw in this power energy through your chakras into your body. And then it was going back and forth between the two, you know, the partners, and you could feel it going through the whole room. It was like really powerful. And we get to, so at some points, you know, they have their hands on each other, like reaching out, like I'm having my hands on you, you have your hands on me. Like it was, you know, heart chakra, touching foreheads, touching the top of the head, you know, things like that. So it was very cool exercise. And we get done. And one of the gals in the group said, I don't even understand what just happened. But when I had my hand on my partner's top of her head on the crown chakra, she goes, it was sitting there for, you know, because I say something, they repeat after me. And so they're sitting there doing this. And she goes, I had my hand on her head and I had my eyes closed and I was repeating this. And she goes, I felt my hand drop down. But like I opened my eyes and my hand's still on her head. But so I closed my eyes and it's down. And so she's saying this because she is like, I don't know what just happened. She was really, but then other people said the same thing. And so Cindy, I don't know if you want to contribute in the chat room. I'm not like, if you can't, that's fine too. But other people were like, oh my gosh, that happened to me too. I thought it fell off her head because it felt like it just went straight down. And then it was going like this. But then you look and your hand is on the top of the head. And I said, okay, that's very cool. And so let's think about it this way. What if your hand did do that? Your hand went through, and because really everything is energy. And so we have this construct here of tangibles, and your mind makes it so, you know, and you know, science says, well, yeah, now it's however they determine this is a solid thing. But really, when you get into it, there's space in everything. There. So what if in this slightly, you know, altered state, we let our minds go enough to say, this isn't real. This isn't there. And like, I can put my hand through you because none of this is real. You know, it's energy. That's what everything is just energy. So what if it actually happened? And I wasn't looking because I was reading my thing. I wasn't, you know, I'd look up every once in a while, but I wasn't, you know, I was still in the energy too, in my own way of just what the group was creating. So it was so cool because then they're looking around at each other going, that is the coolest thing. And I said, what I love about this is that it teaches us to question everything. Question everything, even what you consider an absolute, because you think my hand is on your head, that's it. And it's like, well, what if it doesn't have to be? What if that's not real? Like, it's not real. It's just in this dimension or whatever, however that works, that this is a solid thing. And our mind tells us so that's so. But what if we leave our bodies slightly or a lot and we realize that this isn't real. It's not, these aren't tangible things like we believe or have been told. So anyway, I don't know if I'm even saying it correctly because I'm not a science person, but I just thought it was so cool because I do believe that is possible. And it was awesome that this group of people, so many of them had the same experience while we're doing this small little meditation. You know, it was the coolest thing.
You could almost interpret it like as like maybe even a quantum experience.
Yeah.
You know,
absolutely.
or with a quantum explanation, you know, and you know, and if you go down into that like quantum Bigfoot and stuff, you know, like, you know, maybe with what you were creating with either the tone or the resonance, you were actually like being able to shift like the planes. That's a fantastic experience.
Yeah, I was so happy that they were able to have that, because then it starts shifting what you think are absolutes.
Yeah.
You know, and what's possible. And it's just, I loved it. I loved it for them. I loved just being able to witness that for them, because I believe it. I believe it. And so now maybe it shifts people into thinking, I need to question this. What if that's not really there? And I understand to some degree we fall into these laws of physics, and but there's more that we just don't understand, or that we don't even realize are possible. So I just think it was very cool, very amazing.
Or even like the old adage, that people older than us said all the time, mind over matter type
That's
thing.
right.
Like,
That's
like
right.
maybe it actually wasn't just stubbornness, wasn't, but, maybe it had a little rooting in reality. Yeah. That's super cool. That is super cool. Yeah. And especially to be, again, a shared experience.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then so Cindy in the chat room, she had a couple of comments here. She said it was amazing. I couldn't believe how weird it felt, but in a good way, a curious way. And then her last comment here, I actually really felt it more during the back-to-back, like melted into her partner. So at one point they had to sit back to back. And so they leaned up against each other. And yeah, I mean, it was like their bodies just were flowing instead of leaning. They just there wasn't any kind of barriers, and they just became like, many of them said the same thing. It's like they just became one and were moving in and out of each other in this really cool, like, quantum way, right? Energy way.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That is
so I thought that was a cool thing to share, because it's like, how often does that happen? But I think people could try it, try it with a group or a couple of folks, see what you can do and see what can happen. I think it's totally possible.
And, try some tones and different, different things that might, that is super cool. That is super. And it's funny that you were so engrossed into what you were doing that, and then these people are having each of their own experiences, and then they find out that it's a shared experience, that it wasn't just Cindy, it was all of them. That's super cool.
Yeah.
That is.
I mean, I was having my own experience because I was by myself, but I could feel the energy of the place and everything that they were creating doing this exercise I felt totally. I remember Cindy said she felt dizzy when we got done. And I said, yeah, I think I feel the same way. I feel like I probably couldn't stand up right now because I'd tip over, because it was so altering just being in that presence. And then to find out, they were having those experiences was very, very cool.
Super cool. Super. Definitely not a Tuesday.
Right.
Oh my.
Yeah. So that's my fun story for our smorgasbord.
Cool.
Excellent. We came hungry, and I don't think we disappointed.
No, you did a
No,
good
good
job.
stuff tonight. Yeah.
Nice. Well, another smorgasbord at the end.
Thanks, Cindy, for joining too.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's cool. That's very cool. And and Paula's in there too. So yeah, we got a good active chat room tonight. And awesome. For
sure.
Great way to start June.
Yes, absolutely. So, well, you guys, thank you. Thank you for all of you watching and listening to the podcast later on, however you're hearing us. Thanks for watching. Thanks to all the troops who may be watching also. Please be safe, and thank you for your service. We appreciate it so much.
Yes, absolutely. And everybody, wherever you're listening to us, thank you so much for tuning in. If you're watching us on Facebook or our YouTube channel, please subscribe so that you can get more updates as we are moving through this. If you're listening to us on our podcast, thank you so much for tuning in there. And Cryptovania TV, thank you for hosting our show. And Trost, best producer, you knocked it out of the park again. So thank you so much as well.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, and good night.
Good night, everyone.
Night.
What is all this?
The smorgasbord, of course. Join us.
Ribbit, hope you're hungry.